He stole over $1 million, and then the FBI handed him a badge. Brett Johnson, the DARKWIRE, real stories from the wire. The original Internet Godfather built the first organized cybercrime community on Earth. Then he helped tear it down from the inside. Brett Johnson grew up in Hazard, Kentucky, a coal town wedged into the Appalachian Hills, where the median household income barely cleared $20,000 and the main export was exhaustion. His father worked the mines. His mother stretched every dollar. Brett was born in 1972, and by the time he was 10 years old, the only thing that felt bigger than Hazard was the screen of a second-hand computer his family scraped together enough to buy. He didn't just play games on it. He studied it. He pulled it apart. He wanted to know what lived inside. By his mid-20s, Brett had already racked up minor fraud charges, bad checks, small cons, the kind of street-level grift that gets you a fine and a record, but not a reputation. What changed everything was dial-up internet, specifically the forums. In the late 1990s, a loose constellation of message boards had emerged where people traded stolen credit card numbers, counterfeit IDs, and step-by-step fraud tutorials. Brett didn't just find these communities. He recognized immediately that they were disorganized, inefficient, and leaking money. He saw a business problem, and he knew how to fix it. In 2002, Brett Johnson launched ShadowCrew. The pitch was simple. One centralized platform where cybercriminals could buy, sell, verify, and communicate, with built-in reputation systems modeled loosely on eBay feedback scores. If you sold bad card data, you got flagged. If your counterfeit documents passed field tests, your rating climbed. It sounds almost mundane described that way. It wasn't. ShadowCrew was the architectural blueprint for every darknet market that came after it. Silk Road, Alphabay, Hansa. All of them owe a structural debt to what Brett built in 2002 from a laptop in the American South. The techniques Brett pioneered were methodical and devastating. Identity theft started with data harvesting, phishing emails crafted to mimic bank correspondence, fake login pages that captured credentials in real time. Once he had a victim's social security number, date of birth, and mother's maiden name, he could open new lines of credit within hours. Account takeover fraud went further. Brett's crew would call financial institutions directly, impersonating account holders, using harvested personal data to answer security questions and redirect funds. Card not present fraud, fraudulent transactions where a physical card never changes hands, was scaled through bulk purchases of stolen card numbers sold on ShadowCrew for as little as $1.50 per record. And then there was IRS tax fraud, filing returns in victims' names before they could file themselves, redirecting refunds to prepaid debit cards purchased with cash at Walmart. Brett helped design all of it. He didn't just commit fraud, he industrialized it. By 2004, ShadowCrew had over 4,000 registered members across dozens of countries. The forum was processing stolen financial data tied to hundreds of thousands of compromised accounts. Brett was pulling in serious money. His personal take eventually exceeded $1 million. He was untouchable, or so he believed. In October 2004, the U.S. Secret Service executed Operation Firewall, a coordinated takedown that hit ShadowCrew members simultaneously across the United States, Canada, and Europe. 28 arrests, servers seized. The forum went dark overnight. But Brett Johnson wasn't among those cuffed. He'd gotten word early enough to vanish, and he spent months running, moving between states, cycling through aliases, using the same identity laundering techniques he'd taught thousands of others. His luck collapsed in 2005. He was picked up in North Carolina on separate fraud charges, not even ShadowCrew related, just the accumulated weight of a life built on stolen identities catching up with him. Facing years in federal prison, Brett made the calculation that would define the second half of his life. He flipped. The U.S. Secret Service brought him in as a consultant and informant, and Brett Johnson, the man who'd spent years teaching criminals how to defeat law enforcement, started teaching law enforcement how criminals think. But here's where it gets worse. Even while cooperating, Brett reoffended. The pull of old habits, old networks, old money was too strong. He was arrested again, convicted, and sentenced to federal prison, ultimately serving time before his final release. The road from informant to legitimate consultant wasn't a straight line. it was a jagged scar. What the Secret Service and FBI discovered was that Brett's knowledge was genuinely irreplaceable. He could walk agents through a fraud operation from the attacker's perspective in real time, explaining not just what criminals did, but why each step was designed the way it was, where the human vulnerabilities were, which security measures were theater and which ones actually hurt. Banks started paying attention, then corporations, then government agencies. The fall of ShadowCrew had ended an era, but Brett's expertise didn't expire with the forum. The techniques he'd built in 2002 were still running, copied, refined, and scaled by a new generation of criminals who'd learned from his playbook without ever knowing his name. That made him more valuable, not less. He became a fixture at cybersecurity conferences, delivering keynotes that mixed confession with technical precision. Audiences that had spent careers building defenses were hearing, for the first time, exactly how those defenses looked from the other side of the screen. Today, Brett Johnson consults for financial institutions, healthcare organizations, and federal agencies. He speaks publicly about IRS fraud prevention, account takeover vectors, and the social engineering scripts that still work on customer service reps in 2024, because human nature hasn't patched itself. He's been covered by Business Insider, GovTech, BankInfo Security. The man the Secret Service once hunted now shares a stage with the people writing federal cybersecurity policy. He has said in interviews, "I've been granted the opportunity to help people instead of harm them." That line lands differently when you know the full ledger. The $1 million stolen, the thousands of victims whose credit was wrecked, the years spent running, the second arrest even after flipping, the prison sentence finally served. The twist isn't that a criminal went straight. The twist is that the crimes Brett Johnson committed were so architecturally sophisticated that the only person who could fully explain them and help build defenses against them was the man who invented them. The FBI didn't just forgive Brett Johnson. They needed him. He stole over $1 million. He built the internet's first criminal empire. And the most dangerous thing Brett Johnson ever did for the people who used to hunt him was decide to start talking.